everybody and welcome back to another video. Say hello. Hello. You're so tired. You need to have a little sleep, I think. So for my videos, they've been a little bit sporadic and all over the place. I haven't been uploading regularly, but life's just been super busy. Not gonna lie, life with two young children, it's hard to keep on top of everything. So YouTube has just taken like a bit of a back seat. I wanted to just film Raina's update. I did an update for Novaly. She was 8 weeks old after kind of had her 8-week appointment and her immunisations and things, and now obviously Raina's passed that. So I just wanted to do like a bit of an update comparison, and to be honest there's like loads I need to update on just in general, so I thought I'd just film like a chatty video just to kind of fill you all in where we're up to and what's been going on. If you haven't like followed any of my videos before, I started off breastfeeding and I did continue to breastfeed for a little while, and then did a bit of combination feeding because breastfeeding was just proving really difficult. She had tongue tie, high palate. Just to be honest, she's quite a hungry baby, and I just could not satisfy her. I latched on my production, or whether it's just because she was just always hungry. So I ended up doing like a bit of combi feeding, and I'm pretty sure that's kind of where I had sort of last spoken about it on my vlog for the first couple of weeks of her life. But yeah, breastfeeding has just naturally just came to an end. It just worked out better for us to be on the bottle, but within that time we still had quite a lot of feeding problems. She was just being a really unhappy, unsettled baby, and she's a different baby now that you're seeing right here than what she was for the first, I'd probably say 8 weeks. It's only been the last couple of weeks where she's really settled. It was kind of at the point where she was, if she wasn't asleep, she was just crying, suffering with reflux, silent reflux, colic. So I went through a lot of like different things to try and help her. I just knew something wasn't quite right, so we had the tongue tie snipped, but we didn't have that done until she was about 8 weeks. I changed like teat size on bottles, but I did actually end up changing her milk. So she was on just normal Cow and Gate, but she's now on the Cow and Gate anti-reflux milk, and it has literally changed. She's just a different baby on that milk. It has been so good for her. I just couldn't really tell what was making her unhappy, because some days she would be sick and have the reflux, like she'd bring up all of her bottles every feed. Other times she would only be a little bit sick, other times she'd be sick a lot. She'd go days where she was a lot better than others, but she was still you're tired, but she was still really unsettled. She would be like bringing her legs up to her tummy during feeding. She'd only take like a couple of ounces and then would stop feeding, and would be like thrusting on the bottle, like shaking around, arching her back, crying. She would be getting hiccups, just really not very happy basically. And she would never really settle after a feed either. She would be really unsettled and unhappy after a feed. So all of these things, I wasn't really sure what was causing it. Just going through like loads of things in my head of what it could be, but I just knew something needed to be done, and I changed her milk and it helped massively. So I think not only was she suffering with reflux, she was also suffering with silent reflux. Even if it wasn't actually coming up and like being sick everywhere, she was uncomfortable. And today I've also actually taken her to see a cranial osteopath. I've heard really good things about them with kind of like colicky, refluxy babies, and I just wanted to get her kind of checked over. I didn't think it would, you know, do any harm just getting her checked out. I've heard really good things. So she had her first appointment today and it did go really well. Obviously I won't really know if it's made any difference because it's only been a couple of hours. The guy who did it seemed really positive, and hopefully like it should help her, because she still does get a bit of like tummy discomfort, and she's also really snuffly because of her, she's got a high palate, so it makes her really snuffly. You can probably hear her now, like she's quite snorty and snuffly. So he seems to think that he could do some work on that as well. So yeah, we'll just see if that's any help. But the main difference that has really helped us is changing the milk. But because it's a reflux milk, it's really thick, so I just had to change the teats on the man bottles to size 3. She started off on size 0, and then I did move her up to a 1 at one point. but she's on the size 3 ones now because the milk is so thick. And because now she's on that milk, she'll actually generally drink like a full bottle as well, which is crazy because she was just not doing that on normal milk. I think it was obviously just coming up and it was just really uncomfortable for her. Whereas now she's kind of slowly getting into a little bit more of a routine. It does kind of change. She's not completely like a scheduled baby, but she will go around 3 hours between feeds now, and she will generally drink most of, if not all, the bottle, which is great. When we went to when the health visitor came out, she weighed her, but that was at her 8 weeks appointment. She was weighing 12 pound 1, so I think she's got to be nearer, I'd say 13 pounds now. A lot of 0 to 3 size clothes are getting too small for her now, so some things she is in 3 to 6. This outfit she's wearing today is in 3 to 6. She's not even 3 months old yet. Sleeping wise, she does do really well. We were going through a phase of her sleeping really like amazingly, and I was like, oh wow, this is great. So what normally happens is Tom will take her in the evenings, so I normally go to bed like, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock, or like 9, 9:30, and Tom will keep her, and then he will give her like an 11 o'clock-ish dream feed. It kind of depends when she had her last bottle as to when he will do that last feed. Sometimes she'll wake up for it. I think a lot of the time she can stay asleep for it. Give her that feed and then bring her up. Evenings are the hardest time to settle her, definitely. She really likes going in her swing chair, so often I think he'll pop her in there to help her settle in the evenings. It's probably one of the best places to get her to settle and sleep. Like now, I actually think if I put her in her swing chair, she'd probably fall asleep quicker and easier than she would do in my arms. There was a time where she would kind of have that feed, and then she was going until like sometime anything between 4 and 6 a.m, which was just amazing because it obviously meant that I was getting like at 6 o'clock if she's waking up then, I was getting a really good night's sleep. And it was sometimes a bit frustrating when she woke up at like 5 because I would feed her. By the time I had fed her and put her back down, Novely would then, because she wakes up about 6ish, so she would then wake up. So then I didn't really like, I was basically up from 5, if that makes sense, but it wasn't, you know, that's not too bad, and that amount of sleep is perfect really. But recently she started waking up again about anything between 2 and 4, so I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Tom says that sometimes she doesn't take like a full bottle at that time. If she's really sleepy, she won't take a full bottle, she'll only take a couple of ounces. I think it just depends how much she's had during the day and what it's been like. And yes, she often does wake up like a bit windy as well, so I wonder if that causes her to wake up and stuff in the night. So I don't know, we'll see. I was getting to the stage where I was thinking, oh, maybe she's going to start sleeping through the night soon, but I think that was maybe a little bit of wishful thinking. Depending on what time she kind of has that sort of middle of the night bottle. I mean, last night she was awake at, it was about 2 a.m, and then again at 6, 6:30 for a feed. So it really like varies. It's definitely getting like easier and into a bit more of a routine now. She's really started like smiling and like cooing now as well, which is just so cute. I forgot like how lovely it is to see your baby like trying to talk to you and smile and things like that. It's so cute. It's starting to become like an actual sort of human baby now, rather than just like a blob that just eats and cries and sleeps. Like we're getting a little bit more back now. I have inquired about a baby, like a mum and baby yoga class thing that I want to do with her, because I want to make sure like I'm spending one-on-one time with her. Because I find myself like when I haven't got Novely, which is normally like 1, sometimes 2 days a week, kind of varies. My mum tends to have on a Wednesday when she's off, and Tom's mum tends to have a 1 day a week or half a day, depending on kind of what a week looks like. But I find myself using that time to literally just catch up on house stuff and do chores, things that are basically easier to do when you haven't got a 2-year-old running around. Like purposely make sure I spend some one-on-one time with Raina, because she doesn't get that like Novely did as a baby. And I know it doesn't really matter, and I know it's like she doesn't know that she's not getting upset that she's not getting my attention, but I think it's for me as well. I want to be able to like bond with her, really make the most of that time of having a little baby again, because I know how quick it goes and I don't want to miss it out on spending time with her. So I thought if I do a class or something like that, I'm sort of committed to it then, because if I'm at home, I know I'll just find something that I need to be doing. Whereas if I've booked onto a class and I'm going out and doing it, it's something that's will hopefully be good for me as well, for kind of like my mental health and my recovery and things, like doing some yoga stretches and like bonding with her. I really hope it will be something we both really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to that. In terms of Novely and just like general life updates as well, she has adapted so well to becoming a big sister. But I think she has kind of like realised in these past few weeks that because Raina's becoming more awake and alert and kind of having that more interaction, I think she has now realised that she is an actual other human being that requires like my love and attention. Whereas I think for the first few weeks, it was very much, well, she's just like this blob that doesn't really do anything. So I think now she's realising that this is an actual person. So I don't know if like that's now like it's sinking in for her a little bit more now. Her behaviour has definitely been more, I don't know how to say it politely, challenging, I guess. And she's been having a lot of big feelings. Just the whole like toddler vibe is definitely going on for her, bless her. And at times I do find it really tricky, and it's so difficult because no, it's not her fault and I'm trying to help her work through these feelings, but at the same time like it can be really triggering. I'm only human at the end of the day, so it can like really get to me. Generally she has been really good, and she is such a lovely big sister. She's so kind and caring towards Raina. She'll always tell her that she loves her, she'll give her kisses, she'll want to hold her, she'll like rock her in, like if she's in her little car seat or her chair, she'll give her like a little rock. She's been so good, and I'm really lucky that she's really good at independent play, so she will just kind of take herself off and play and whatever. I mean, the attention-seeking behaviours have definitely been creeping in, but yeah, I mean, we knew that was going to happen, that it's what 2-year-olds do, especially when they've been through like a massive change. And I think that's the thing that, another thing that I'm really struggling with is just like, it used to just be me and Novely all the time. Like, obviously I was at work for a few days a week, but most of the time it's just me and her. And now I don't get any time, just one-on-one time with her. Obviously when Rain is asleep, she has that time with me, but there's always stuff to be done. There's even more stuff now with 2 because you've got bottles to sterilise and more washing to do, and yeah, just all that kind of stuff. So I think both of us are feeling the impacts of not having that one-on-one time. So that's something that I really want to focus on as well. So not only do I want to try and have that one-on-one time with Raina, I want to make sure I've still got that with Novely as well, so she's not feeling like I'm constantly with Raina all the time. And that was one of the main things why breastfeeding was just really not working for me, basically, and was really affecting me, was because I just felt like it was taking me away from my first baby, and I couldn't split myself in 2, whereas at least now somebody else can take Raina and give her a bottle, and I can leave Raina with other people, and I can go off and do something with Novely if I want to. Whereas if I was exclusively breastfeeding, that just would not happen. It's also going to be starting preschool in February. I can't believe it. She's going to be starting our local preschool. She's only going to be doing 1 morning a week because obviously she's already out normally for 1, maybe 2 days of the week. It kind of depends. Sometimes on those days as well, like I end up going with her to the grandparents and things. So hopefully this will be my 1 morning where I've definitely got like a solid chunk of time that I know that she will be in childcare. And I also think it would be really good for her to kind of interact with other children and like build on that sharing and being in a setting, basically, because she hasn't before. Just gonna have to feed you, aren't I? Just gonna have to feed you. Here's your butter time. I'm sure every time I film a video I have to feed you. So I think it would be really good for her development as well to be in a setting. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest. I'm so used to her being with me all the time, and she's so used to being with me, and the only time she's ever been like away from me is with family. So it is a lot. Like, I never understood this when I worked in childcare. I never understood why people would never want to leave their babies, but I get it now. I really do get it. But I think it's needed for all of us. it'll be good for all of us as well. So yeah, that's exciting. That she'll be starting there, and I'm doing it more for her than for me, to be quite honest. No, it'll be worth it. One of the most asked questions that people get asked is, what's the hardest, like going from 0 to 1 or 1 to 2? And obviously I can't answer this question completely because I've only been in it for like what, 2.5 months. I can obviously just share what I've experienced so far and how I found it going from 1 to 2. I think I had it in my head, worst case scenario basically. I was actually really terrified of going from 1 to 2 because I'd heard so many basically horror stories, and just people also sharing like how hard it is and how difficult it is going from 1 to 2, which it definitely is. But for me personally, so far, even with a really colicky, refluxy, unsettled baby, and don't get me wrong, there have been times where especially in the beginning, I was like, I don't know how I'm physically going to be able to do this. Like, I really don't know how I'm going to cope. And there were times where like all three of us, you know, Tom being back at work, all three of us were just crying, and both the girls would be crying at the same time, and I didn't know how to sort it out. And it just takes a while to get into like that rhythm, I think. And I think like logistically going from 1 to 2 is harder because there's 2 of them and 1 of you. Obviously when I'm by myself, I'm outnumbered, so like logistically that's kind of difficult, like trying to work out, right, if I'm going to be feeding Raina at this time, what can I get Novely to be doing? Oh, she's going to need her lunch then. Like, who do I get in and out of the car first? But I feel like it has just come a lot. I've just kind of got into the swing of it, and it's not been as like unknown as last time. First time round, I think, is such, for me anyway, and for us as like for me and Tom, first time round was such a big like life shock. It's just such a life change. It's such a big transition. Whereas second time around, you already know what to expect, and for us, because our age gap is quite relatively close, we're already in that kind of stage where you have to pack an entire bag and you have to think about, you know, naps and what meals you're going to be having, and bringing changes of clothes and lugging the buggy everywhere, like bringing nappies and all that kind of stuff. We're already in that, so adding another one wasn't as much of a shock. Emotionally and mentally, like mentally, I feel like feeling so out of depth maybe. I mean, there obviously are times where it's really, really tricky, and obviously 2 is really hard, and it's 100% more work, like, and you've got even less time than you did before. And I sometimes feel like, looking back, like, how did I ever struggle with just having 1? Like, when like Novely's not here, or when I haven't got Raina and I've just got 1, I'm like, whoa, this is so easy. Like, why did I ever complain? Same sense, I feel like the shock of 0 to 1 was much more for me than 1 to 2. But I don't know if it's because I just really prepared myself this time for how hard it could be. I think your body's just used to it a bit more. Like, your body's just used to lack of sleep, to being on alert all the time, not knowing what your nights are going to look like, to being worrying about them and their health and how they're doing. That mum anxiety. I mean, the mum guilt is increased even more with 2, because obviously it's just a whole new dynamic. But so far, I'd say the transition for us 0 to 1 was harder than 1 to 2. But I've only been in it for 2.5 months, and I know like all of this will change. Like, currently she's a newborn, so in a sense they're kind of, you know, you feed them, they sleep a lot, whereas there's going to be a stage where Raina's going to be awake more, she's going to need more entertaining, you're going to have to be like doing things with her as well as Novely. Then Raina will start moving, so I won't be able to like plonk her down, and she won't stay there, she'll be into everything. Like, I know there's going to be different stages, and I just honestly think this is going to be like a roller coaster, ups and downs of easier bits and harder bits, but that's just general life and motherhood, isn't it? Some bits of it you find easier, some bits you find harder, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. All of it is worth it. It is hard, but you just do it because you have no choice. Like, that's like, I think that's a mum's superpower, is that no matter what, you have to just get on with it, and you do just do it. So that's just a little update really, is where we're at, what's been going on, how we're feeling. I'm hoping to be filming like a day in the life with a toddler and a newborn soon, but she won't be a newborn for much longer. I just can't believe it. She's getting more and more like Novely, I think, and her hair is starting to get a little bit lighter. I can just tell already that they're such they're going to be such different characters. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.